All right, so the task at hand is to finally do some upgrades to my Cummins swapped Ford. So I built this truck and I've been using it, and we haven't really done pretty much anything to it. It's just been as it sits since we built it, and there's a few things that I have wanted to do for a very long time. We're finally knocking them out one by one. So the first one, the torque converter. So that is one thing that this truck has struggled with. I used a diesel conversion specialist swap kit for this truck, for the whole truck. And basically that reuses the factory Ford transmission and the factory Ford torque converter. So it has an adapter plate to the transmission and then a billet flywheel to bolt to the Ford torque converter. And all of that works great. The Ford transmissions are really solid. The problem is the torque converter is set and has a stall that works well with the V8 Power Strokes power band, which makes peak torque at a much higher RPM than the Cummins. The Cummins makes peak torque at a super low RPM, like 1500 RPM. So what we needed was a Ford converter to work with our Ford transmission, but with a stall set for the Cummins. So we got just that to go in it. So this is from Suncoast Diesel Transmissions. So if you're not familiar with them, they're actually a Florida company. They're right up by where we compete for clutch kickers up in the Panhandle. Super cool company. I've known a couple guys over there for a very long time. Really cool guys. And they make all sorts of stuff. You know, built transmissions, custom converters, everything. So like this was a piece of cake for them. If you need transmission stuff for your diesel truck, they probably make it. So I'm going to be doing something a little different than I normally would with this truck. If you're a frequent visitor of the shop here, you know that I like to do everything myself, besides paint work and tuning. But I do my fab work, I do my wiring. I'm starting the wiring and tuning. Paint's one of those things, I always leave that to someone else. So, naturally, you would think I would be doing this converter. Wow, that is a beefy unit, dude. I didn't even realize they were that big. Here, I'm gonna leave this in the box. This thing is massive. So this is a triple disc billet converter. Again, meant for our Ford Trans, but with a much lower stall for our Cummins. And this is specifically built for my needs. Like I told them how heavy the trailer was, you know, what the gear ratio was on the truck, what power level it made, you know, what size turbo was on it, everything. And they spec this specifically for my needs, which is really cool because this should be exactly perfect for what we want to do, and this will be much, much stouter than our stock unit. So this is a huge, huge upgrade. It may seem like a simple thing, but with an auto trans, a torque converter is a huge part of its processes. So what I was getting at is, this is one of those projects, I don't really want to do it. I really don't want to do it because what's going to happen is I'm going to pull the cab off because that'll be the easiest way with the equipment that I have to do this. And then I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. Oh, well, let me do the injectors. Oh, well, let me do compound turbos because I might as well do bigger injectors if I'm changing the injectors. And I don't want to do that with this truck in the middle of race season. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the truck and the converter to my buddy Lee. He is a great mechanic. He has plenty of experience with diesels and Cummins swap diesels and all sorts of stuff, and we're just gonna hands off let him do it, and we don't go down the rabbit hole. So this is weird for me. This is a weird experience. Besides stuff I literally can't do, like building a cage or painting a car or tuning, I never ever take my vehicle to someone else to do something. So it's strange, but it's also kind of exciting. Like I'm gonna drop it off with this annoying sucky converter, and we're gonna get it back with a nice converter that has a better stall. Like it's gonna be like magic. We didn't have to do anything. It's just gonna be better. I don't know. I'm kind of excited. This is kind of fun. So yeah. I know that was a whole lot of jibber jabbering to start this out, but it's time to get into the work. So we're gonna take the truck and the converter over there. I'll show you what it drives like now without the trailer, and then we'll see what it drives like without the trailer with the new converter, and with the trailer and without the trailer. Let's hit the road. We'll go 30% throttle. So it's just RPM and wait for the converter to lock. I have not moved my foot on the gas, and I watch the speedo climb. We accelerate significantly faster as soon as the converter locks, because it starts using that low end torque. So that's what I want to change. It's a lot more dramatic with the trailer. Let me show you. So that is 30% throttle. You can see the RPM. 2250. Steady 30%. And the converter locks. I haven't moved my foot at all on the pedal. And now we're really picking up some speed. Got the trailer in tow.
bell housing bolts. A little overkill there. New drain back tube. Transmission lines back on. Put it down and put fluid in it.
All right, well, we got the truck back from Lee, knocked it out super quick. I'll be honest, I have already driven it. I couldn't help myself. I went. So I took Chrissy with me, my girlfriend Chrissy, and even from the passenger seat, she was mind blown by the difference. Like, if she can feel it from the passenger seat, pretty noticeable. So I'm so happy with it. So we're gonna go drive it so I can show you the difference without the trailer and with the trailer. But first we have an issue to take care of. So I noticed a problem when I was driving it there. The AC just didn't seem as cold as usual. Started looking around and I noticed the compressor is clicking on and off, you know, every 10, 20 seconds. So I think we're low on Freon. Let me pull this thing over into the shop. It's hot out here. Our girl does not get used as much as she should. All right, so when I built this truck and got it done, I really paid a lot of attention to the AC system because I had to build these AC lines and weld them together because we're using a Dodge AC compressor with a Ford system. So I paid really close attention to it just to make sure that there were no leaks or anything, you know, for the first couple months of getting the truck done. And I was also not sure if the system was going to be very efficient because we've got all Ford stuff with the Dodge compressor. And luckily, it was like the most efficient system out of any truck I've owned. So like my green truck, for example, the compressor cycles on and off every minute or two. And that's because what happens is this is your AC condenser. If you're not getting really good airflow over this to keep it cool, it'll start to get hot. And once it gets super hot, the pressures get too high, the compressor has to turn off, let the pressures drop back down, and then it can turn on again. So if the compressor's not on, it's not gonna be as cold if it's having to cycle on and off very frequently. So this truck, at idle, super hot day, the compressor would just stay on because this was able to stay cool enough to keep the pressures in check and it just stay on. So, you know, sitting there idling on a hot day, not moving, the AC would be frigid. And that was like all I really wanted. So I know that it cycling like this is not normal. And I noticed it a couple months ago. I was hooking up to the trailer, AC on, truck running, and I noticed it was clicking on and off every minute or so. I was like, oh, that's abnormal. So I'm hoping it's just a very long, slow leak, like a 1 year leak. I can live with that. Hopefully that's all it is. Hopefully we're just low on Freon. We're going to get hooked up and try to fill her up. Got ourselves some Freon. Got some AC gauges off Amazon. Hopefully these work worth the dang. If you're doing AC, if you're filling a system up, you really want to use proper gauges and get the pressures right. I'll explain when we're filling it, but you can have too much Freon and it can be just as bad as far as like the cooling in the vehicle as too little Freon. So, all right, let me get this set up. On this truck, silly Ford things, the high side fitting is behind the airbox. So we've got to pop this airbox off to get to it. Freaking whole beetle in there. So a lot of the charts you look up online will tell you like 95 degrees, 50 to 55 PSI on the low side, and like really high numbers as the temperature goes up. From my experience, like on a not quite as hot as this day, you really want like about 35, max 40 on the cold. And then maybe this hot, it might go as high as 40, 45. But you really don't want to be up in the 55, 60s because what happens is you're starting out with pressure so high, the pressures can get too high real quick and then it has to turn on and off. You know, and in my experience, it works the best if the compressor can just run without turning off very often. So sometimes a lower amount of Freon will make it run longer versus a higher amount and it's cycling a bunch. So anyway, that's my experience. I don't know. we're good now. The compressor hasn't shut off this whole time. We're still only at 36 on the low side. So that's really about where you want to be. We did take 2 full cams though. Yeah, so that's literally perfect. See, we're at 35, 175, and the pressures are static. You can feel we're getting good airflow over this. It's warm but not too hot. Now if that was getting hot, the pressures would just increase slowly and they'd get too high and it would shut off, you know, every minute, every 2 minutes. We had the opposite problem where there was too little freon, so the pressure would get too low and then it would shut off. And then the pressures would stabilize and it'd draw it back down. So that's how it was before, and it's always been great. So I'm gonna leave it there. That pressure, I mean, it literally hasn't moved. See how it feels in here? Oh yeah, icy. Now we're where we should be with this thing. Sweet, all right, well now we can go for a drive. Now that we can do it in comfort with the AC on it. I just didn't want to keep wearing on the compressor like that with it being too low on Freon. All right, got the intake and stuff back together. Hopefully that fill lasts us another good year. Obviously I'll try to find the leak. I really had a hard time finding the leak on my Dodge. And it was a big leak. It would leak out in like a couple days. And even with dye, it was just so hard to see where it was coming from. So I'm hoping it's just some super small leak and we'll be good for another year. But the only one way to find out, use it. Now that that's done, it's time to go drive it. So 30% throttle. So it's just RPM and wait for the converter to lock. I have not moved my foot on the gas and I watch the speedo climb. All right, so accelerating from a stop here, I'm gonna do the same 25, 30% throttle. You can see our RPM, we're barely at 1750. And the truck just takes off now, like it should. It's using all that Cummins low-end torque. All right, so we'll do a little more throttle here, like 35% maybe. Just so much quicker. It's night and day. Like you see, I mean, you can see. It's wild, man. I really wish I would have done this from the start. So I am really excited to see what it's like with the trailer, because it was annoying without the trailer, but it's far more annoying with the trailer because you have all that extra load. So it's just to take off at even a moderate pace, we would be up at like 2,400 RPM. So I'm real curious to see what it's like now. I'd be willing to bet we'll be like 1,900, 2,000 and accelerating quicker. All right, trailer is hooked up. This is the real moment of truth here. Now, we don't have a car in the trailer, but we do have everything else. I've got tires for both the Zafiro and the Miata in there. All the Miata tires are in there. Everything but the car. So it's 2,500 pounds lighter. Not perfect, but the Miata's torn apart, so we're not gonna get a perfect example anyway. Pop the tow mode on. This is it. Already just pulling it out of the spot that I park it in, night and day. Oh, yes, dude. Oh my gosh, that's so much better. Holy cow. So that is 30% throttle. See the RPM, 50. Steady 30%. Then the converter lock. Alright, so this is my typical 20% throttle or so. Dude, that is nuts. That is nuts. I mean, look at that, 1700 RPM. Oh, there's the converter lock. See, now is when you'd start moving, but I'm already letting off the gas. I'll have to do a good fully up to speed run. Dude, worth every penny. This is what this truck should feel like with an aluminum 32-foot gooseneck. It should feel like it ain't nothing. All right, same route we just went on. We should be able to get up to full speed here. Or close to it. And we gotta go up a hill. So this is a good example. Dude, wild. Because now we're shifting at 2,000 RPM. Before we be at 2,300 just to get going at all. I'm keeping up with the rest of the cars. Up the hill. This guy decided he just had to pull out right then and there, so much for getting up to top speed. But I mean, you know, that's all I need to know. We'll have to do a highway test with a car in it, but I'm not towing a car anywhere for the next couple weeks at least. So you want to see what it's like to have to back my trailer in here? It's not that bad now that I'm used to it, and it's nice in the daylight. It's not fun at night because you just can't see where the opening to the driveway starts. Normally I'd be putting it in the driveway to unload the car, but we're going to go straight back in. A little far to this side, but we can make it work. Yeah, we're good. We're too cut too early. I gotta pull it up to the left. Because no, I never do it like that. I never go straight in and straight into its spot. Because I'm always gotta unload the car. I'm not usually towing my trailer for no reason. So I gotta get a little less arch to her early on. It's a little tricky because I've got like a pipe that sticks up there that I've got to avoid. So it's like I gotta wait a certain amount of time before I can cut the trailer. Try to keep it a little bit closer to the open this time. Vines are getting out of hand. Beautiful. All right, well, what a difference, man. What a massive difference. I am so glad we finally did that. If you're doing a Cummins swap, please do yourself a favor. Do not use the stock 4 converter. Get yourself a custom converter. It's super easy. You just call Suncoast. I'll put a link to them below, and they can spec you out anything for any combo. It's just gonna transform this truck. It's just so much more effortless to get up and going, which it should be, because like I said, we got a 32-foot aluminum gooseneck. There's no reason it should be a hassle to get up to speed. You know, this thing pulls the trailer on the highway like nothing, but just that first through third gear, like 0 to 45 miles an hour has been awful. And now it's fixed. I am stoked. I'm super happy. Okay. I was planning to do the seats in this video as well because mine are demolished. These things are super blown out. They were recovered at some point. This is another thing that's been on the to-do list for a while. I'm really excited for this. Not only just seats and stuff, better seats, but just sprucing up the interior overall. But I'm waiting on the harnesses. Let me show you the seats I got though, before we end this off here. So I got King Ranch seats out of like a 13 to 16 model. So I got them used, obviously. Center console's pretty worn. I thought I could buy a replacement easy, but it was a F-150 one, so I gotta see if I can track down a new one of these. The driver's seat's definitely a little worn, but all of the cushioning and stuff seems good. It's not all blown out. That was the most important thing. Of course, the passenger seat is mint. They always are, and the back seats are mint. But I got the console and everything, which I like this console setup so much better, where you have all of this. It goes all the way to the dash. You have all these little cubbies for storing stuff. So these are heated and cooled, which that's one of the biggest reasons for doing this. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it work, but I found a guy that does the conversion. So I sent him the harnesses, and he's going to modify them to kind of bypass all the factory electronic stuff that it normally needs to go through to make the heating and cooling work. So this is going to be a game changer too, man. Much nicer, much more comfortable seats with heating, which we don't need that much in Florida, but it's nice when it's cold out. But the cooling, the air blowing on your back on a hot day, and the center I'm really, this is something I thought about doing for a very long time, and I finally pulled the trigger on it. So we'll be knocking that out here in the next week or two, but I gotta wait till I get the harnesses in. So yeah, I guess that's gonna wrap us up for now. We should be towing here in the next couple weeks, and we'll really get to see how it is and put it through its paces, going on a long trip, going on the highway, being loaded down with the car and everything. But so far, I am beyond happy with it. So anyway, I know I've been jibber jabbering on a lot here. Just, it was a big improvement, man. It was a big improvement. So I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna let you go. We're doing it. Okay, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye. All right, well, we've actually got the Zafiro in the trailer because we're taking it drifting. And I was like, you know what? This is a great opportunity to test out the converter. So instead of driving the Zafiro, we drove this. This is the same turn I made with the Zafiro in the trailer last time. Everything the same, new converter. I'm gonna try to do the same 30% throttle. We're at like 25 or so. 26. You can see how much faster we're accelerating. Less percentage of throttle. We're already in converter lockup. And moving on out. So much better. First drive with the trailer loaded, and it's night and day, man. Okay, I had time to get this in this video for you guys, so I wanted to make sure that we got a good same for same comparison. So anyway, bye for real this time. See you next time. Goodbye. Thanks for watching. Okay, bye.